Episode Dark Night of the Soul. If you had seen me today, I could have passed for normal. I removed the New York registration sticker from my car finally. I vacuumed my car out and organized the things within. I had a video call with my cousin where she led us in a 30-minute cardio and ab workout. I even did laundry and cleaned my apartment off of the endorphins. I picked up my guitar and I played a song a few times through. But if you could see inside my mind, you'd see that I hate myself. It feels familiar and foreign at the same time. A voice I know well, but hasn't visited me in a while. And I'm even more ashamed to admit, it brought its friend back with it too. I feel so much hate for others. I guess those things seldom don't go together. Most of my life and most of the time, I know myself to be someone with deep love and compassion for humankind. My typical work is usually to move out of over-empathy and codependence. Something has shifted lately, and I don't really know what. Although I don't yet know the root of return of these voices, I know what the current momentary triggers are. Lately, I all of a sudden am building all of these new, beautiful relationships. The girl at work, the girl from the concert, 4 cousins, and the book club. I feel pretty solid in my long-term relationships as well. I've been in a lot of personal and deep conversations with people, as is customary. I feel like people are asking me what I think, also not new, but lately I feel like the responses I have been giving are the responses I give to myself, and they're rooted in the things that I have been learning. If someone comes to me and tells me something they're going through in life, I will literally take notes as I listen to their voice message. I will ask follow-up questions in response or directly during calls. Then I will form what I think based on every detail I could digest and how it relates to personality needs, the subconscious mind, core wounds, and everything I have said dozens of times now through these episodes and probably thousands of times to myself. Sometimes the calls end with people thanking me and praising me for being insightful, for being a caring person who takes time to think through what they were going through. But sometimes I get resistance. They either don't agree with what I'm saying, which I'm generally okay with, even though I feel a little silly, or the thing that tends to bother me much more happens. And this has happened a number of times with different people in different occasions. I will give this in-depth response, and they will pick out one thing from what I said, repeat it back to me in a way that I didn't mean, and respond to that as a big focus. Sometimes it feels like there will be a few voice message exchanges that will go on like this. I will clarify what I meant, and they will pick one thing out and respond to that in a way I didn't mean, until finally I quit feeling misunderstood. I must say, that thing in particular tends to only happen with voice messages, usually, since I think the amount of information passed back and forth is harder to keep track of, but not for me since I take notes. Something else that happens occurs during voice messages and calls alike. I feel like an absolute freak for even putting that much effort into my responses. This is where the self-hatred begins its performance. What is wrong with me? Why can't I just be a listening ear? You're so intense and you take everything so seriously. You're a burden and people are exhausted by you, or they will be soon. You're not always right. You're not the community therapist. People are going to start to resent you if you're always giving them advice. Even if they ask for it, you do it too much. It's going to get to the point where people feel like they have to prepare themselves to talk to you because you're always telling people what to do and making a big deal about everything. I'm not sure why this happened, and I know I switch between first and second person a lot when I journal, but I find it interesting that I switched from first to second person as I kept going just there. I'm not sure why that happened. It almost feels like I'm turning against myself as I get deeper into the hatred, which makes sense in a tragically real way. I think it might have a lot to do with the forming of these new relationships, but it feels compulsive, like I can't help myself. I'm excited. There's something more there too. And I'm crying my eyes out as I write, feeling so ashamed of myself and stupid for even trying to work through this for myself. I feel like such a freak. I thought that when I did more work, I would get more secure, and that would make me feel more normal. I just want to feel normal. I just want to be normal. I feel like I have to hide myself and be different for people to like me and want me around. Part 2. It's been 3 days since I wrote that first part. I had 2 days of relief and was going to close out the entry, but something made me wait. The feeling came back strong today. I did my art homework, feeling a little proud of myself as I thought through solutions I mentioned in the previous episode about how I could protect myself from the mean voices. Put into words, the answers I came up with via imagery, other than leaving, were to make a note of what the voices were telling me and see what lies underneath. And also share the voices with others, involve an enlightened witness, for example. Other than my therapist, I shared the voices with my best friend and one other person. I don't know if the other person was or is currently unable to hash it out with me yet, but their current lack of response made me feel horrible. So disgusted by myself, rejected and defective. Something I did today made me think of the weirdest book I have probably ever read and loved, called Ocean at the End of the Lane. It's been a while since my last time through it, but I remember the antagonist in the story turns into moths or old rags or something like that when exposed in its true form. I can't really form the perfect one-to-one explanation, but that's how it feels for me. Like the things I am doing are exposing my true form, all of these parts of me which are dark and stale. I'm so insecurely attached. How can I go on? How have I even made it this far? Some days I feel like I can see the end in sight. The end being a world where I'm not triggered this deeply and as regularly as I currently am. I do feel as though I have gone through periods of peace. But today I don't see or feel the end. I keep learning things about myself that I feel like I hate and wish I didn't have. I feel like I am on the edge of a cliff, doing my best to anchor myself, holding a rope with me and my entire body's weight on the other end, trying to pull myself up. Every time I learn something about myself that I don't like, the weight gets heavier. The funny thing is, I think I'm feeling this way because it's working. The wounds I feel today are rejected and abandoned and still defective. I have worked on wounds like safe, innocent, loved, enough, and some others, and I've actually heard those voices quiet down. The voices are very much of the wounds I have not yet worked on, which seems so loud and familiar, but newish now, because they are usually drowned out by the other previously louder ones I have worked on. The one thing I realize is that now, the way I feel, it is more important than ever to fight out of it. I wrote down several ideas this morning for video shorts that I think could be helpful and fun. This weekend, I worked on a website and set up appointments for people to be able to work with me. I started an exercise routine with my cousin, and I'm already seeing results after just 2 sessions, which right now means I am so sore in the right places. Which right now just means I am so sore in the right places. And those voices make me want to stop everything. And I know if I don't keep fighting and going, it'll be 5 years later, and I will feel even more ashamed of myself than I do now, and time will have slipped out of my hands, quote unquote. The truth is, I started publishing this work to document my journey, and I've had this tagline of being unique and valuable because I'm showing people what it's like in the middle of the struggle. But if I'm being honest, I wish I did not have to struggle. I wish every episode was like, and here's how I had this trigger come up, and I knew which tool to use immediately, and wow, the game. But this is the real deal. This is what my path has been like, to go from a very traumatized, fearful avoidant with CPTSD to securely attached, who shows up and does the work. This is what it's like inside my brain and inside my skin. The good news is, I had to work to learn the skill of self-compassion, and I am able to find at least some right now. I feel sorry for myself. I see how hard I try. I see how bad I want it, and every day I work on my mental health, but don't wake up the next morning feeling fully secure. Feels like I poured my heart out on a school or job application and then received a rejection letter. This is going to be a shorter episode because I don't even feel like continuing to write. I luckily have art therapy in a bit, and that should give me some support. I guess that's part of the journey through it. I don't have it in me to support me right now. But the foundations I built while I was able to support me were friendships and a therapy relationship. And that meant through this difficult week, I had a call with my best friend who helped me through some of the darkest thoughts I've ever said out loud. I had 2 longer calls with my cousins. I received good feedback at my performance review from my boss. Fernanda and I watched our show. I laid on her couch and we laughed and enjoyed each other's company. I have a sleepy kitty next to me right now. My life is not over. My time is not up. I'm going to keep going and building that foundation. I'm going to work on Rejected and Defective, finally. I'll have to talk about hatred of others in another entry. But today I know I'm weary, but I will never be defeated. I will never give up. Thanks for listening.